It is March 16th, 2023. On the set of Lo Sé Todo in Colombia, the hosts are seated at the studio desk during a normal entertainment segment. Elianis Garrido is next to her co-host, talking through the day's topics. Partway through the segment, she starts to feel unwell. She coughs and brings a hand to her face, clearly uncomfortable. She shifts in her chair as if she's trying to step away from the conversation for a moment and move out of the main shot. As she tries to stand, her body doesn't respond the way it should. She turns slightly, begins to rise from the chair, and then suddenly loses strength. In a matter of seconds, she collapses and falls to the studio floor beside the desk.
De cualquier tipo de credo lo hace pensar a uno, ¿será que estamos en los tiempos finales? Vamos a ir a un corte, ya por favor regresamos, ya regresamos.
Her co-host reacts immediately. The people on set realize something is wrong and call for a pause in the program so she can be helped. Production staff and medical personnel move in to check on her and take her out of the studio for proper attention. She is taken to a medical center for evaluation. After being examined, she is advised to rest and step away from the show for a short period while she recovers from the health issue that caused the fainting spell. Days later, Elianis explains to her audience that the episode was related to a respiratory illness she had not fully treated. She thanks viewers for their concern and confirms that she is feeling better. The incident becomes a reminder that even on a bright, entertainment-focused set, presenters are still dealing with real health limits behind the scenes. It is March 17th, 2012. Tottenham Hotspur are playing Bolton Wanderers in an FA Cup quarter-final at White Hart Lane. The first half is open and competitive, and the score is 1-1 as the game moves toward halftime. In the 41st minute, something goes wrong that has nothing to do with the ball. Bolton midfielder Fabrice Muamba, just 23 years old, suddenly falls to the ground near the center of the pitch. There is no tackle, no collision. He simply collapses where he is standing. Players react immediately. Teammates and opponents signal urgently for help. Referee Howard Webb stops the match and gestures for the medical teams to come on as quickly as possible. Doctors and physios from both clubs run onto the field. They reach Muamba and begin treatment on the grass. It becomes clear almost at once that this is a serious medical emergency, not a routine injury. CPR is started on the pitch. Medics work over him for many minutes, using chest compressions and a defibrillator in repeated cycles. Additional staff join from the stands and tunnel area to assist with equipment and support. After prolonged efforts on the field, he is moved from the pitch. Still receiving care, Muamba is taken along the touchline and into the tunnel. The stadium is quiet, with players and supporters watching in concern as he is transferred toward an ambulance. The match does not resume. Officials inform both teams that the game is being abandoned. Players leave the field, and attention shifts entirely to Muamba's condition and the work of the medical staff and hospital team. Later, doctors explain just how serious the situation was. They say Muamba's heart did not beat on its own for around 78 minutes, and that he received many rounds of advanced treatment before normal rhythm was restored. Over the weeks that follow, he makes a remarkable recovery. He wakes, speaks with family and teammates, and eventually leaves hospital with an implanted device to protect his heart. Months later, on medical advice, he announces his retirement from professional football. It's January 19th, 2022. Late at night in Dunbar, West Virginia, a water main has broken near an apartment complex. The pavement is wet, and temperatures are low enough that patches of ice are possible around the area. Reporter Tori Yorgi is there with her gear. She stands near the street by the Roxalana Hills apartments, ready to talk about the break and the conditions in the neighborhood. Cars pass behind her as she works, moving through the dark, slick roadway. As she prepares to speak, a vehicle approaches from behind. A light-colored SUV or pickup comes along the road and gets too close to where she is standing near the edge of the street.
Tori Yorgi joins us now live in Dunbar. And Tori, they're not seeing any flakes, but wet roads. And now we're starting to experience, unfortunately, in freeze-thaw, we see this, water main breaks.
Got hit by a car, but I'm okay. I just got hit by a car, but I'm okay, Tim.
That's the first for you on TV, Tori.
Woo!
The vehicle makes contact and knocks her off her feet. Tori and her equipment are thrown to the ground. The impact sends her down, and the camera and lights tumble with her. For a moment, everything around her is confusion and noise. The driver stops immediately. A woman gets out and checks on her, asking if she is okay. Tori gets back to her feet, reassures the driver, and lets her know that she is all right enough to stand and speak. Despite the shock, Tori continues
so sweet
working.
And you're okay. It is all good. Oh Lord.
So you
it's my last week on the job, and I think this would happen.
So you were bumped
specifically
in,
to me, Tim.
Were you bumped down low, Tori, or were you hit up high? I couldn't really tell from looking.
Oh, I don't even. Do you know if I was bumped down low or up high, sir?
I just saw you disappear.
I don't even know. I don't even know, Tim. My whole life just flashed before my eyes. She didn't mean to. It was an accident. I know it was, and I'm okay. Everything's fine.
She steadies herself, regroups, and finishes talking about the water main break and the conditions in Dunbar before leaving the scene to be evaluated. Later, she is taken to a hospital for a checkup. She reports feeling sore but has no broken bones or major injuries. The incident is treated as an accident in icy conditions, and the clip of what happened spreads widely as an example of how quickly a simple field assignment can change in a single second. It is January 9th, 2024. In Guayaquil, Ecuador, tension is already high. A powerful gang leader has recently escaped custody, and a wave of violent incidents has pushed the government into a national state of emergency. Around midday, a news program is underway at TC Television. Journalists and technicians are at their posts in the studio, doing what they do every day, reading headlines, managing audio and cameras, and guiding viewers through the latest developments. Suddenly, the routine inside the building is broken. A group of masked men, dressed mostly in dark clothing and carrying long weapons, move into the TC Television facilities. They make their way to the news set while the program is still in progress. They enter the studio and take control of the room. Staff members are forced down to the floor or into positions where their hands are visible. Some of the intruders display what they say are explosive devices and shout warnings, demanding that no one interfere. Noise and confusion spread through the set. Raised voices echo in the studio. At least one round is fired, adding to the fear among the journalists and production crew lying on the ground. For a period of time, the attackers hold the people in the studio under direct threat. Outside, security forces respond. Police units and special teams move toward the TC Television building, surrounding the area and preparing to go inside. Their goal is to end the situation and bring everyone in the studio out safely. Officers enter the facilities and confront the intruders. They move through the building, reach the studio, and overpower the group that had taken control. The armed men are detained, and the staff are led out of the room. Several employees are hurt in the incident. One journalist suffers a leg injury, and another staff member has a broken arm. They are taken for medical care as the building is secured and searched. In the days that follow, authorities link the studio takeover to the broader struggle with criminal groups inside the country. The images from that day become a stark example of how Ecuador's internal conflict briefly reached directly into a national newsroom. It is mid-2025 in Pakistan's Punjab region. Days of heavy monsoon rain have turned roads and fields into rivers. Villages are surrounded by water, and entire stretches of land near dams and rivers are under deep, fast-moving floodwater. A television reporter steps into the water to show what people are facing. He wades out until the flood reaches his chest, then his neck. The current is strong, the water muddy, and debris drifts past as he tries to describe the situation around him.
छोटे बड़े बरसाती नदी नाले जो है वो आ गए, जिसकी वजह से कबायली इलाकों के रास्ते जो है वो मनक़ता हो गए। कबायली लोगों को सख्त मुश्किलात का सामना है। घरों को जाने वाले और शहरों को आने वाले कबायली लोग जो है वो फंस कर रह चुके हैं, क्योंकि बरसाती नदी नालों से जो है वो गुजरना बिल्कुल महाल हो चुका है। इस वक्त जो है सखी सरवर का एक बहुत बड़ा बरसाती नाला जो है वो आया हुआ है, तो यहाँ पर सूरत हाल इस तरह से कि वक्त के साथ साथ सखी सरवर के बरसाती नाले के
Soon, only his head and one arm are visible. He keeps his microphone above the surface as the water pushes against him. The flow tugs at his body, and it becomes harder for him to stay in one place.
आप आ गए तो आप हम भी इस कवरेज के लिए आ रहे थे, तो यहाँ पर सूरत हाल जो है वो इस तरह से होती है ताकि नाजरीन को बताया जा सके कि जब कबायली लोग जो है वो फंस जाते हैं तो इस तरह से सूरत हाल दरपेश आ जाती है। तो आप देख सकते हैं कि बरसाती नदी नालों से अगर गुजरना हो तो इस तरह की।
Then a stronger surge arrives. The current rises and shifts, and he loses his footing. For a moment, viewers see just his head and the mic, and then he disappears from view as the water overtakes the spot where he was standing.
आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर आगे भी बंदा जो है वो चला जाता है, तो हिफाजती तदबीर जो है वो इख्तियार करनी पड़ती है। तो हिफाजती इकदाम जो है वो मुकम्मल किए जा रहे हैं और लोगों को इस हवाले से सख्त मुश्किलात का सामना है। हम भी जो है अपने नाज़रीन को लम्हा ब लम्हा जो है वो ये बताते जा रहे हैं कि ये सूरत हाल जो वो पैदा हो जा रही है मजीद इस तरह से सूरत हाल.
The clip quickly spreads online. Many headlines say that the reporter was swept away during a live broadcast near a dam in Rawalpindi, pointing to the dramatic way he vanished from the frame. Later, more information fills in what really happened. The reporter is identified as Ali Musaraza from a regional channel, and he explains that he was not carried off downstream. He says he stepped back, his cable microphone disconnected, and the cameraman stopped recording, leaving only that sudden, alarming ending on screen. The moment still becomes one of the most striking images of that flood season. A single person standing in neck-deep water, fighting the current just to show how much of the landscape has turned into a moving river. It is March 9th, 2021. In a studio in Colombia, a football discussion show is underway. Several commentators sit side by side behind a curved desk, talking through the latest matches. Carlos Orduz is seated at one end of the table. Behind him, a tall LED wall is part of the set. The show continues as normal until, without warning, the section of the wall positioned behind Orduz begins to move. The structure gives way and tips forward toward the desk. The panel comes down directly onto his position. It falls over the back of his chair, hitting him from behind and forcing him forward onto the table. The impact is sudden and loud, catching everyone at the desk off guard. The other panelists react immediately. Several of them turn toward Orduz's side of the table, startled by the noise and the movement of the wall. Staff off camera move in to help as the program is halted. The broadcast does not continue with the discussion. The show is interrupted as the situation in the studio is handled. The focus shifts from football talk to making sure everyone, especially Orduz, is checked and cared for. Later, Carlos Orduz explains what happened. He says that he has only a bruise and a blow to the nose, with no fractures or lasting damage. He thanks viewers for their concern and confirms that he is okay. The incident circulates online as a reminder of how even a familiar studio environment can produce sudden, unexpected moments during a normal sports program. It is a wet autumn night in late October 2023. In the London suburb of Mortlake, heavy rain has left streets shining under the streetlights. Water gathers in gutters and low spots, and trains and traffic are already feeling the effects of the weather. BBC reporter Harry Lowe is on the street to talk about it. He stands on the roadside in a residential area, explaining how the rain is affecting the neighborhood, puddles forming, drains working overtime, and people trying to move around as normal despite the downpour. While he is in the middle of his work, something happens just out of his view. The bag he brought with him, kept nearby while he focuses on the report, is quietly taken by someone passing through the area. There is no confrontation, no raised voices, only the sudden realization that the bag is no longer where it was a moment ago.
Going off, we've had alarms going off all day.
And Storm Kieran's on the way. From 6 p.m. on Wednesday, a yellow weather warning is in place for rain and wind, and that covers Kent, Surrey and
For a brief moment, he pauses. He gathers himself, then chooses to finish what he came to do, describe the rain and the local impact for viewers at home. The update on the flooding conditions continues, even with the distraction of what has just happened. Later, Harry explains what took place. He shares that his bag was taken halfway through the live piece and posts the moment as a career first, turning an uncomfortable experience into a small story about staying composed under pressure. The incident travels online as an example of how even a simple weather report on a quiet London street can suddenly change. One moment about rain and puddles, the next about a reporter realizing his belongings have disappeared while he is still on the job. Is June 16th, 2025. In Tehran, the situation is tense. Days of exchanges between Iran and Israel have already led to multiple strikes and alarms. Residents in parts of the city, including the area around the state broadcaster, have been warned to be ready for possible attacks. Inside the studios of Iran's state news channel, the schedule continues. Anchor Sahar Imami is on set for the Islamic Republic of Iran news network, reading the latest headlines. Behind her, the large video wall shows graphics and footage as she talks through the day's developments. Partway through the bulletin, everything changes. A powerful blast hits the broadcaster's complex. A deep, sudden boom is heard. The studio shakes, and dust and small debris begin to fall into the set. Voices can be heard in the background as people on the floor react to the impact and try to understand what has just happened. The program does not continue as normal. The on-air feed cuts away from the shaken studio. The live bulletin is replaced with other material as the building is checked and people are moved to safer areas. Outside, smoke and flames rise from the broadcaster's headquarters. The network reports that several bombs have struck the site, damaging the complex and injuring staff inside. emergency crews and security forces converge on the area as part of the wider response to that day's attacks. Not long after, Sahar returns on air from a different location. She appears from another studio, continuing the news coverage and describing how the strike interrupted the broadcast. It is November 2022. In Doha, crowds are out along the Corniche as the World Cup begins. Fans walk the waterfront, waving flags, taking photos, and gathering around big screens and lights near the promenade. Argentinian reporter Dominique Metzger is there with her team. She holds a microphone and talks about the atmosphere, supporters from different countries, music in the background, and the sense of celebration in the streets. Her bag is with her as she moves and works among the crowd. At some point during this time in the busy area, she doesn't notice anything unusual. The live segment feels routine. People pass close by, stop briefly, then move on. There is nothing that clearly stands out in the moment as a problem. Only afterward does she realize something is wrong. When she checks her bag, her wallet is gone. Important documents, money, and cards that were inside are missing. The discovery turns what felt like a normal workday into a stressful situation far from home. She goes to the local authorities to report what happened. In her later account, she explains that she filed a complaint and that officers told her they would review security footage to identify whoever took her belongings. The incident becomes a widely shared example of how even in bright, crowded, celebratory spaces, a simple work assignment can suddenly shift, from covering the World Cup to dealing with the very real problem of having your personal items taken in a foreign city. It is early morning in March 2025. In Adelaide's Rundle Mall, the sky is still dim and the shops are closed. A crew from Channel 7's Sunrise program is on location. Reporter Hayden Nelson is there to talk about rising incident numbers at shopping centers in the city. The team sets up their gear before dawn. Lights are mounted on stands, the camera is placed in position, and cables run across the pavement. Nelson stands in the pedestrian strip, preparing to speak about crime statistics and concerns from retailers and workers. As they get ready, a man walks through the scene. He greets the reporter and cameraman in a casual way, then continues past them. Nothing about the interaction seems unusual, and the crew stays focused on the segment they're there to record. While their attention is on the job, the man takes his chance.
How brazen some of the crime is. This morning, during our last live cross about half an hour ago, someone came and took the light off our light stand. So normally we have about 3 lights here. They've just pulled that blatantly off and walked away with it. So any calls for security, any need for police, certainly made clear for us this morning.
He removes one of the lights from a stand, an expensive piece of broadcast equipment with the network's logo on it, and walks away with it. The stand remains in place. The missing light goes unnoticed in the moment. The segment finishes before anyone realizes what is gone. Only afterward, when the crew checks their setup, do they see the problem. One light is missing, and the team understands that someone has quietly taken it while they were working on a report about crime. Later, Hayden explains what happened on air. He describes how, during their last live cross, someone came and pulled the light off the stand and walked away, turning their own early morning assignment into a real example of the very issue they were discussing. South Australia police review the matter and release an image of a suspect. A man is eventually arrested and charged in connection with the theft, while the story spreads online as one more real-world moment where a simple live report took an unexpected turn.